Sometimes deep within nature, dark secrets hide, secrets that logic can't explain. In the heart of Africa stands Zimbabwe's highest peak, grand, mysterious, and dangerously unpredictable, Mount Nyangani. For centuries, this mountain has been known as a place where people vanish without a trace, where compasses spin wildly, and where bizarre, unexplainable events unfold. The locals call it the mountain that swallows people, because some who set foot here never return. Lives lost in the mist, disappearances that defy explanation, eerie figures that blur the line between hallucination and reality. But what's really behind these strange occurrences? Are supernatural forces at play, or is it just the mountain's harsh and unforgiving terrain? In this video, we dive into the chilling legends of Mount Nyangani, the real-life disappearances, and the mysteries that surround this eerie peak. If you're ready, let's begin our journey into Zimbabwe's most terrifying mountain. By the way, if you enjoy this kind of content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and like the video. Your support means a lot to me. Welcome to my channel, Discovery of the Mystery, where we will uncover the secrets. The Manuka tribe, who have lived near Mount Nyangani for centuries, hold a deep-rooted belief about the mountain. According to local legends, a vengeful spirit resides there, making it a sacred place that must be approached with extreme caution. The fact that people vanish without a trace and strange events occur here suggests that something truly eerie might be happening on this mountain. There have been so many disappearances and unexplained incidents in this area that the locals refer to it as the mountain that swallows people. That's why this week, we're diving into the mysteries of Mount Nyangani, investigating the strange events and unexplained disappearances, and trying to uncover what might be behind them. Located in northern Zimbabwe's eastern highlands, Nyanga National Park is one of the country's oldest and largest national parks. It's home to unique wildlife, streams, rivers, rolling hills, grasslands, and light forests, making it a popular destination for both local and international tourists. At the heart of this natural beauty stands the majestic Mount Nyangani. Towering at 8,504 feet, it is Zimbabwe's highest peak, with steep cliffs and a misty summit that seems to stretch endlessly into the sky. Climbing to the top is the only way to witness the breathtaking scenery of the surrounding landscape. However, according to the Manuka people, Mount Nyangani is not just dangerous, it's cursed. Their traditions warn that if you encounter a brightly colored snake, see a clay pot that appears to be burning without flames, or stumble upon a brick-shaped piece of gold, you must immediately turn away and leave without hesitation. Why? Because according to legend, if you fail to do so, you'll invite grave misfortune upon yourself. Of course, these tales of Mount Nyangani, passed down through generations, are widely considered nothing more than folklore. But given the number of disappearances and bizarre encounters, one can't help but wonder, is there more to these myths than meets the eye? However, there's something strange about the disappearances on this mountain. For instance, in 1981, the two daughters of Zimbabwe's former finance minister went missing while visiting Mount Nyangani. Despite extensive land and aerial searches, no trace of them was ever found. Visitors to the mountain have also reported bizarre occurrences: compasses and electronic devices suddenly malfunctioning, photos coming out distorted, and strange mists that seem to follow them. Even experienced hikers, who know the area well, have found themselves disoriented, wandering aimlessly for days as if the mountain itself was playing tricks on them. Perhaps the most unsettling detail? Those who survive and reunite with their families claim to have no memory of what happened while they were lost. One of the most famous disappearances on the mountain is the case of 31-year-old Zaid Dada. In January 2014, Zaid set out on an early morning hike to the summit of Mount Nyangani with his wife and friends. About halfway up the mountain, the group decided to take a break and rest. At one point, Zaid stepped away to get a better view of the landscape, telling his friends he'd be back in a few minutes, but he never returned. After waiting, his friends began searching for him, but there was no sign of Zaid. Authorities were notified, and soon a massive search operation was launched. The Zimbabwe National Army, Air Force, and police all joined in, scouring the entire mountain for any clues. They even created 3D satellite maps of the mountain, used infrared scans, and brought in experienced climbers, professional trackers, and volunteers. Every trail leading up the mountain was thoroughly searched, yet despite all these efforts, no trace of Zaid was ever found. That same year, 20-year-old Thomas Gasford also had a terrifying experience on Mount Nyangani, one that made him fear for his life. Thomas was a highly successful student studying human sciences at Oxford University in England. In 2014, he won a prestigious Wallis-Watson Scholarship, a grant awarded by his college. The Wallis-Watson Award, which encourages undergraduate and postgraduate students at Oxford to explore mountainous terrain anywhere in the world, led Thomas to Mount Nyangani. He believed that going to this mountain would help him develop both physically and mentally. However, when he arrived, some local villagers approached him and tried to dissuade him, telling him that an Indian man named Zaid Dada had recently gone missing on the mountain and was never found. They then began to recount strange and unusual events that had taken place on the mountain in the past, and finally they offered him some advice. At first, Thomas found their stories ridiculous, but as the day progressed, he started to realize that something strange was truly happening on the mountain. After speaking with the villagers, Thomas set out early in the morning toward the summit. After a long and exhausting journey, he managed to reach the top. However, the moment he reached the summit, he noticed that he was suddenly surrounded by a thick layer of fog. Despite it being 3 p.m. in the afternoon, the mist was so dense that he could barely see a few meters ahead. Just a few minutes later, heavy rain began to pour down. At that moment, Thomas remembered what the villagers had told him, which filled him with fear and caused him to panic, trying to get away as quickly as possible. However, the fog was so thick that he could hardly see anything. With no other choice, he soon gave up, set up his tent, and fell asleep, hoping that the mist would disappear by morning. However, as night fell, strange noises coming from around his tent woke him up. When he checked his surroundings, he saw several snakes approaching him. A bit further away, he could also see a few creatures with glowing red eyes staring at him. Remembering what the villagers had told him, Thomas did not disturb them, closed his tent, and went back to sleep. The next morning, with the fog now clear, he descended the mountain and returned to the settlement. Another disappearance occurred in 2020. In April of that year, 2 children from the Matsivo family, along with their father and 2 of their cousins, set off toward Mount Nyangani to retrieve stray cattle that had wandered onto the mountain. However, as they continued their journey, they were suddenly engulfed in a thick fog, followed by heavy rainfall. At that moment, they wanted to return to the village, but the dense fog made it impossible to see anything, causing them to lose their sense of direction. With no other choice, they decided to spend the night there. Since there was no contact from them all night, the villagers alerted the authorities and a search operation was launched. Later in the day, the villagers finally found them. However, there was no trace of their father, Tinashe Matsivo. The children were found unconscious, likely due to hypothermia, after spending the entire night in the cold. On April 10th, the children were hospitalized, but only 2 of them survived. Their father was later found lifeless at the foot of the mountain. Of course, the strange events on the mountain are not limited to these incidents. Locals claim to have heard mysterious sounds, seen strange lights, trees with human-like faces, and rivers that suddenly turn red. They also report that bizarre occurrences have taken place at construction sites near the area. According to accounts, some workers experienced unusual accidents, while others vanished without a trace. Almost every day, the sites were affected by severe weather conditions. The tension and fear among the workers became so intense that many claimed to have seen strange creatures and abandoned their posts. So what could be causing these events on and around Mount Nyangani? Is there really something strange lurking on the mountain? One of the most logical explanations for Nyangani's mysteries is the fog. The weather on the mountain changes rapidly, making it nearly impossible to avoid getting caught in thick mist. Once inside these dense fog banks, finding a way out becomes extremely difficult. The heavy mist that forms in the area can block almost all sunlight within minutes, leaving climbers feeling trapped in limbo. In such conditions, people lose their sense of direction and struggle to determine where to go. If someone is hiking near steep cliffs and rugged terrain, poor visibility could lead to a deadly fall into a deep valley. Moreover, since it usually rains during these conditions, Any traces left behind are quickly washed away, making rescue efforts even more challenging. Without proper equipment, the cold nighttime temperatures can also lead to hypothermia. Studies show that severe hypothermia can cause hallucinations, with some victims even removing their clothing while experiencing these hallucinations. Perhaps the strange creatures reported on the mountain are somehow linked to these hallucinations. While there are several rational explanations for Nyangani's mysteries, locals remain convinced that spiritual entities inhabit the mountain. Even the human-faced trees and rivers that suddenly turn red, which the villagers describe, have scientific explanations. For example, the trees with human-like faces could simply be a case of pareidolia, a psychological phenomenon where people perceive familiar patterns, such as faces, in random objects. As for the rivers turning red, this could be due to several natural causes. One possibility is that rusty water from the mountain is changing the river's color, similar to the Red River in Cusco, Peru. Another possible explanation is the presence of a specific type of bacteria, like the one that gives Lake Natron in Tanzania its reddish hue. Despite these logical explanations, one question remains unanswered. What happened to people like Zaid Dada? Why have some disappearances remained unsolved? This unanswered mystery is what keeps Mount Nyangani shrouded in intrigue. So what do you think? You can share your thoughts on this topic in the comments. Thank you for watching the video. If you enjoyed my content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and stay tuned. You can support my channel by liking and commenting on my content. Until we meet again.